Joanna had always dreamed of adventure. At 32 years old, she worked as a teacher in a small town, living a quiet and predictable life. Every day was the same. Wake up, go to work, come home, and repeat. She longed for something different, something that would make her feel truly alive. That's why she decided to take a trip to Africa, to experience the wild beauty of nature she had only seen in documentaries. She chose Tanzania, a country famous for its incredible wildlife and stunning landscapes. Joanna booked a safari tour that would take her through national parks, where she could see lions, elephants, zebras, and many other animals in their natural habitat. She was excited and a little nervous. This would be the biggest adventure of her life. The first day of the safari was magical. Joanna couldn't believe her eyes as she watched herds of elephants walking peacefully across the savannah. She saw giraffes eating leaves from tall trees and zebras running together in perfect harmony. The sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, and Joanna felt like she was in a dream. Her guide, a local man named Samuel, was experienced and knowledgeable. He told her stories about the animals and the land, making everything even more fascinating. Joanna felt safe with him. She trusted that he would take care of her during this journey into the wilderness. On the second day, they ventured deeper into the park. Samuel wanted to show Joanna a special place where animals gathered near a watering hole. It was a long drive on rough dirt roads, but Joanna didn't mind. She was too excited about what she might see. As they drove through a dense area of bushes and trees, something unexpected happened. The safari vehicle made a strange noise and suddenly stopped. Samuel tried to start the engine again, but nothing worked. He checked under the hood and discovered that an important part had broken. They were stranded in the middle of the wilderness, far from any camp or village. Samuel tried to use his radio to call for help, but the signal was too weak in that area. He told Joanna not to worry, that someone would come looking for them when they didn't return to camp. But as the hours passed, Joanna began to feel scared. The sun was setting, and she knew that night in the African wilderness could be dangerous. Samuel decided they should stay in the vehicle. It was the safest place. He had some food and water, enough for a day or two. They would wait for rescue. Joanna agreed, though her heart was beating fast with fear. As darkness fell, the sounds of the night surrounded them. Joanna heard roars, howls, and strange calls she had never heard before. Through the windows she could see shapes moving in the shadows. Her hands were shaking, and she couldn't sleep. The first night was the longest of Joanna's life. Samuel stayed awake, watching carefully. He explained to Joanna that many animals came to drink water at night. The watering hole was only about 50 meters away from where their vehicle had stopped. In the dim moonlight, Joanna could see animals approaching. First came a group of zebras, cautious and alert. Then she saw something that made her hold her breath, a pride of lions. There were 5 of them, walking slowly and gracefully through the tall grass. They came to drink water, their golden eyes shining in the darkness. Joanna was terrified. The lions were so close she could hear them breathing and lapping water. But Samuel whispered to her to stay calm and quiet. He explained that as long as they remained inside the vehicle and didn't make sudden movements, the lions would see them as just another part of the landscape, not as prey. The lions stayed near the water for almost an hour. Joanna watched them, her fear slowly turning into something else, wonder. These magnificent creatures were so powerful yet so peaceful in that moment. They weren't attacking or threatening. They were simply living their lives, drinking water under the African moon. When the lions finally walked away, Joanna let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She felt shaken, but also strangely grateful for what she had witnessed. Morning came, bringing relief and new challenges. Joanna and Samuel ate a small breakfast of crackers and dried fruit. Samuel tried the radio again, but still no signal. He told Joanna they would need to be patient. Rescue would come, but it might take time. Throughout the day, more animals came to the watering hole. Joanna saw elephants bathing, their trunks spraying water over their backs. She watched warthogs digging in the mud and beautiful antelopes drinking gracefully. A group of baboons played nearby, reminding her of children at the school where she taught. Samuel taught Joanna about each animal's behavior. He showed her how to read their body language, how to know when they were relaxed or alert. He explained how all these creatures were connected, how they depended on each other and the land. As the hours passed, something unexpected happened to Joanna. Her fear began to fade. She started to see the animals not as threats, but as neighbors. She was in their home, and they were simply going about their daily routines. The realization was profound. She wasn't trapped among dangerous beasts. She was a temporary guest in a world that existed long before humans and would continue long after. As the second night approached, Samuel told Joanna something that would change everything. The water they had brought was running out. He had kept some for the next morning, but if rescue didn't come soon, they would be in serious trouble. There was a village about 15 kilometers away, Samuel said. If they left at dawn and walked carefully, they could reach it in about 4 hours. But the journey would be dangerous. They would have to walk through territory where lions, leopards, and other predators lived. It would be risky. The alternative was to stay and wait. But if no one came by the next day, they might not survive much longer without water. Samuel told Joanna it was her decision too. He couldn't make this choice alone. It affected both their lives. Joanna lay awake most of the second night thinking. She watched the animals coming and going from the watering hole. She thought about her life back home, about her students, her family, and her dreams. And then she realized something important. Over these 48 hours, surrounded by wild animals, she had learned that survival wasn't just about avoiding danger. It was about understanding the world around you, respecting it, and making wise decisions, even when you're afraid. She thought about the lions she had watched. They didn't live in constant fear, even though life in the wild was hard. They lived with awareness, with respect for their environment, with courage. As the sun began to rise on the third day, Joanna told Samuel her decision. But it wasn't the decision he expected. She said they should wait one more day. She had been watching the animals, and she noticed something. Every morning just after sunrise, birds flew in a specific direction. Samuel had told her that birds often followed paths that led to human settlements or camps. Maybe, Joanna suggested, they could follow those birds with their eyes and try to signal in that direction. Samuel was impressed. Joanna had learned to observe nature, to read its signs. He agreed to try her idea. They used a small mirror from Samuel's emergency kit to reflect sunlight in the direction the birds flew. They did this repeatedly throughout the morning. It was a long shot, but it was safer than walking through predator territory. Hours passed. Then around noon they heard it, the sound of another vehicle approaching. A rescue team had seen the light signals reflecting from several kilometers away and had come to investigate. Joanna and Samuel were saved. As they drove back to camp, Joanna looked back at the watering hole where they had spent 48 hours. She felt tears in her eyes, but they weren't tears of relief. They were tears of gratitude. Those 48 hours surrounded by wild animals changed Joanna in ways she never expected. She learned that nature wasn't something to fear, but something to respect and understand. She learned that patience and observation could be more powerful than panic. She learned that sometimes the best decision isn't the obvious one, but the one that comes from truly paying attention to the world around you. When Joanna returned home, her friends and family expected her to be traumatized. Instead, she was transformed. She seemed calmer, more confident, more aware. She started teaching her students not just from books, but from the lessons nature had taught her: observation, patience, respect, and courage. She never forgot those lions drinking water in the moonlight, the elephants bathing in the morning sun, or the birds that showed her the way to safety. The decision she made to wait, to observe, and to trust in nature's wisdom had saved her life. But more than that, it had taught her how to truly live. Joanna's story reminds us that sometimes the greatest adventures lead us not to new places, but to new understandings. Surrounded by wild animals for 48 hours, she discovered that survival and life itself require more than just instinct. They require wisdom, patience, and the courage to make difficult decisions with a clear mind and an open heart. The wilderness had been her greatest teacher, and the lessons she learned there would guide her for the rest of her life.